And welcome back to Washington Commanders Insider. Today we're talking about five bold predictions for the Washington Commanders versus the Bengals. Obviously, you can find this article online. Look, they're talking about point number one being the kicking game and saying that Austin Cyber maintains his 100% field goal record and he doesn't miss a field goal in week three. And I think that that is an absolute possibility. I think the Washington Commanders absolutely rely on the kicking game. You could see what happened in week one where they missed two field goals. I know they would have still lost to the Buccaneers, but it would have been closer. And I think that maybe that could have perhaps swing the momentum towards the Commanders in that game. And so I think that, yes, Austin Cyber is going to be huge for the Cincinnati Bengals. And look, it is proven, and they just showed last week that they are going to be a defense that will allow you to get to the red zone to kick field goals. So I absolutely think that Austin Cyber can continue his streak with the Washington Commanders. Next up, Brian Robinson Jr. gains 120 yards in this particular contest. And so I think that it is going to be a reach. I do think it is a possibility. I've talked about this before as being a key for the Washington Commanders. I think that ultimately speaking, the Cincinnati Bengals are giving up about 4 yards a carry. So I absolutely think that there is going to be a chance for Brian Robinson to find some running room and really pound on this defense. I thought it was very interesting that their cornerback came out and said that the Washington Commanders pretty much run a college offense. So I'm curious to see, look, will the Bengals be up to tackling Brian Robinson Jr.? And so I think it is possible for him to get that amount of yards, but it is going to be a situation where the Commanders are playing ball control. They're keeping Joe Burrow off the field, and they're trying to go ahead and get the win by keeping the offense on the field. I can definitely see that the defense would get tired tackling Brian Robinson Jr. Towards the end of the game. So I think it is a very high possibility that it happens, but I could see it not happening and the Washington Commanders still having a favorable outcome, because I think that he could absolutely be under 100 yards and still really affect and impact the Washington offense in other areas. Like, he could definitely still run the football good, and he also too could be a capable receiver out of the backfield like he's shown before. And so I don't think that that's going to be critical, but it would be nice for the Commanders. Next up, the Commanders gained 3+ sacks in this game after averaging just 1 sack per game. All right. And so, look, I think that they definitely need to apply pressure to Joe Burrow if they're going to win this football game against the Cincinnati Bengals. Like, it just has to happen. At this point in time, they're behind, just as far as just a defensive unit and generating pressure and getting sacks. Like, you have to get sacks, especially against Joe Burrow. He's a franchise quarterback. He can absolutely kind of eat you up there. And so you want to definitely pressure Joe Burrow. And I think that essentially when you pressure Joe Burrow, it definitely it stops that offense. It really gets them off schedule. It frustrates them. I think that whenever the Cincinnati Bengals have been beaten, well, they've been, pressuring Joe Burrow. I think you got a chance to see that when it came down to it with the Chiefs last week. I think that they were able to get to Joe Burrow twice, and that could have been the difference for them. Now, he still had a pretty positive rating, but you need to get those sacks to push Cincinnati out of those scoring positions and definitely keep them off balance. I think that if you take away Joe Burrow, I think that this is absolutely a team that the Washington Commanders can certainly beat. But are they going to be able to get pressures? And how are they going to get pressures? Is it going to be one of those situations where they're actually calling blitzes? Is it natural pressures? I don't think you have to necessarily worry about Joe Burrow escaping and using his legs to beat you. But I think that you still have to be disciplined enough. And the Washington Commanders were very poor in tackling. I talked about that in the last video. You've got to be able to tackle. And so that's going to be the key too, as far as getting sacks. Next up, Terry McLaurin gains or gets 10+ receptions in this game. And I would say it is very possible. Look, he's just coming off 8 receptions on 12 targets. So I absolutely think that he can get 10 plus targets. The question is, can he do more with those 10 plus targets, or not 10 plus targets, more with the 10 plus receptions, more than 29 yards? All right. So it is a great positive start that we have Cliff Kingsbury is drawing up plays to get him the ball. And so I think that at the end of the day, you want to see Terry McLaurin now take off with those targets. Can they be chunk plays? Because I think that if the Washington Commanders are going to continue to shock the NFC East and really go ahead and put more wins in the win column this year than they had last season, they're at some point going to have to challenge defenses down the field. I've said that before. You can't have Jaden Daniels just back here scrambling and just trying to utilize his legs. I think at some point he's going to have to go down the field. And I think it is very positive to say that his clock did slow down last week. I think that he definitely shown that he was willing to stay in the pocket and go down the field. So I love that about that particular situation. And I will take the over here. I think that, yes, he is going to have some opportunities to make some plays out there. I think you've seen that over the first couple weeks, whether it was the Patriots or the Chiefs. There were some wide receivers that were able to win down the field against the Bengals. And so I think that, yes, Terry McLaurin can definitely do so. Will he be matched up against their best corner? I wonder. But this is a guy that has got a 1,000-yard campaign in the NFL. I think he can figure it out. I think he's playing with a very established quarterback in Jaden Daniels. I think that they're going to really build that rapport as the season continues on. So I think that they are going to be quite the duo. All right. And so the last thing here is that the Commanders will secure the victory against the Bengals. All right. So that is a bold prediction. So being a Commanders fan, I have got to believe that that is certainly a possibility for the Commanders. I want to see it happen. And I think that they can possibly do so. Like I said before, I think that the Bengals definitely are vulnerable for a loss. And I definitely think that they are really going to be in a situation where it's going to be tough for them to stop the running game. And I love the fact that the Washington Commanders have Austin Eckler. I love the fact that Jaden Daniels is willing to get out there. And I love the fact that Brian Robinson Jr., who admitted that, look, they are actually using him, right? They did not use him last year, and they're using him now. He talked about that with Bieniemy not using him last year, and they're willing to use him this year. So I think that that bodes well for the Washington Commanders going against the Bengals, who, like I said before, they're giving up a lot of yards per carry. And I think that if you gash them like that and you continue to play like a ball control offense and you don't make mistakes, which Jaden Daniels has not made mistakes. He's not throwing interceptions. He's not losing fumbles out there. Like, that means that you're not beating yourself. I think that they clean up some of these red zone penalties. Like, I'd like the Washington Commanders to possibly win this thing. And if they do win it, it would be a 24-21 kind of game. I think that the Commanders could definitely get this. So let me know in the comments what you think about these 5 bold predictions for the Washington Commanders beating the Bengals. I will see you on the next one. This is Rico, and this is Washington Commanders Insider. See you in the next one. Peace.